Hey, this is Matt once again. Welcome back to another video, and this is a paid request for Siggy. Thank you so much for that, as I need a little bit of drink of water. Sorry about that, I should have done that before I started the video, but Siggy has sent in a paid request for me to check out and review this film called Dream Home. Now, I thought it was called Dream House at first, but it is called Dream Home from 2010. And for those interested in requesting any type of videos, random thoughts, streams, commentaries, video game playthrough for an hour, full playthrough, tier list, ranking, random thoughts, random whatever, movie review, re-review, what have you, feel free to send it. PayPal's the best way to do it. Do have a CashApp as well. Links are down below in the info box, and I will get to it as soon as I possibly can. Now, Dream Home is a slasher film. It's a Hong Kong slasher film, which when I heard the idea, I went, oh, okay, that's interesting. A Hong Kong slasher film? I think this would be one of those Category 3 Hong Kong films, because at times it is rather bloody. It is a film that got a lot of good notices from people. I could see what they were doing. There are some pretty decent gore sequences in the film, and I think if you're looking for that, you should get a kick out of that. I didn't have any issues with the acting in the film. This was a film, though, at the end of the day, I didn't really care for. That's just me. The plot of the film, before I go forward, is it's not chronological. So it will have one night of bloodshed, but that's split throughout the whole movie. So you deal like a piece of that one night of bloodshed, then it'll flash back to our lead character when they were a kid, or in their a month ago, or a year ago, or whatever the case. And I'll keep going back and forth on that. I didn't care for that structure. At times I thought it was just more needlessly confusing, where I had to take a minute to figure out, well, okay, where am I? Oh, okay, now I'm back here. Oh, okay, well, what time is this? Oh, okay, it's not when she was a kid. Okay, this is after this happened. Okay. So it took me a time. There are movies that could do that. Pulp Fiction, it's not chronological, but Pulp Fiction, I thought, is a much better movie. So there are movies that could do that and be fine. This, I didn't think it was needed. I don't even know what the merit was to do it that way. I really don't, and I just didn't care for the structure of the film. But to explain the plot in a chronological... Okay, I'm going to explain the plot in a chronological manner, but these are not shown in a chronological way, if that makes sense. Because the idea is they have this girl that when she was a kid, her family was evicted, and she's grown up, and she always wants to have this one apartment view of the Victoria Harbor, and very adamant to have this. It's in a high-rise, but it's always too expensive, and she is even working 2 jobs to be able to afford this. She wanted to do it for her parents, but her mom died, and she has the stress of working 2 jobs. She goes out with this guy who's a married guy. Her father is sick. Her father is fairly ill, and she has to take care of him. And it's also supposed to be a take on the housing market. How far will you go for the best view? That type of thing. And so it'll go from her having to deal with that, or deal with her sick father, or so on and so forth. Finally getting the money, but then things happen, and the price skyrockets, and she comes up with a plan to fix that. Which, throughout the film, spoilers, heavy spoilers, from here on out, you find out that, well, fairly early on, that she becomes a killer. She decides to kill a bunch of people in this one building during this night, because with the amount of deaths It'll be out in the public, and then no one will want this property, so thus she could get in for a much cheaper price, which eventually she does at the end. And really, the showcase are the kills. And the kills, they are at times effective. There's some pretty good makeup effects. Because kind of that Hong Kong nature, there's definitely some crazy stuff happening that could be fairly out there or intense. Just to go through some of the kill scenes. Again, spoilers. There's the first one where a guard is sleeping and she puts a zip tie on the guard's neck and it's so tight he can't get it out. So he takes a box cutter, but he keeps cutting into bits of his neck. And when he cuts a bit too far, he's bleeding out. And then essentially he accidentally kills himself. I mean, that's definitely something you don't see every day in a movie. There's another bit where, again, that's why I say this could be like category 3, because this is pretty extreme. There's a pregnant woman where our lead, who is a fairly young girl, she beats up the pregnant lady, suffocates her with a vacuum cleaner. Puts like plastic over, has a vacuum, no air, and she dies. And it's a pregnant woman that dies. So again, not something you see every day. The girl's husband comes home and tries to choke the killer. They have a bit of a fight. And eventually the guy slips, falls face forward. His chin connects with the shelf or table. And it breaks his neck. At one point, there's these guys whose music are too loud. She goes up to there, and there's people on drugs and trying to have sex, and she kills all of them. There's the one guy who she stabs, cuts, and then his guts fall on the floor. There's a guy who she's going back and forth, and eventually she kills him with a glass bond in his neck. There's a woman that she takes the head and smashes her head into the toilet and breaks the toilet. There's a guy who's having sex with someone. She stabs the guy in the back multiple times while he's having sex. There's the girl who finds out what's going on, have a bit of a cat and mouse chase in the apartment, and eventually the killer jams a piece of wood into the victim's mouth. So here's this topless woman with this piece of wood in her mouth. 2 cops come. Eventually they get killed. Because the victim with the wood in his mouth tries to stab the killer. The 2 cops don't know what's going on. One accidentally shoots the other in the face. One gets a piece of their neck cut and they don't realize it until it's too late that their neck's been cut. The naked one with the board in her neck, she trips, falls. When she goes face down, the board comes out the other side of her head. And the killer, she shoots the cop in the head and then shoots the guy whose guts fallen out, shoots him in the head through the mouth. So eventually she's able to get away with it. She calls. She's able to work out a very decent price, and she gets the view that she wants. And her killing starts actually with her father, because her father is very sick, and she's taking care of him time and time and time again. And then there's a point where he's sick in bed, needing help, and she just sits there and lets her father die. I get what they're trying to go with. The turmoil of the housing market, the pressure that people come about because of how the housing projects, whether you call it stock market for another film, in the housing market, how it dwindles and people have the crazy thoughts or insane thoughts or pressure or grief, and maybe they'll do crazy things. Here, though, like I said, because of the structure that's involved, where you like start with a kill, then you kind of waiting to get back to the kill, then you kind of waiting, and the characters, the killer. I think the movie's trying to make us feel sympathy for the killer. I don't know. I mean, it seems like at times it does, but I never once felt sympathy for her. I mean, how could I? I mean, you see from the get-go she is a psychopath. So why would I give a shit? And then, oh, I was supposed to feel bad. She's working 2 jobs. I was supposed to feel bad that she take care of her dad. I'm like, I definitely don't feel bad for someone who kills a pregnant lady. So all this trying to mount sympathy does nothing for me at all. At all. Hell, Norman Bates in Psycho 2 I have more sympathy for easily than this girl. So when it's trying to do that, it loses me. I don't think the character's that interesting. The idea of the market. I mean, honestly, hell, Danny McBride I thought was more interesting in that film, Arizona, which I just reviewed less than a month ago. Because that was about the housing market going to the shit and Danny McBride doing something. And while that film I have problems with, I would rather watch that film than this film. Because Danny McBride, I thought, did a really good job. Like, he was an interesting character. He's not a likable character either, but I thought he was interesting. Here, I didn't find the lead girl interesting, I mean, I don't think the actress did a bad job. Far from it. It just, I didn't give a shit about her one way or the other. And then she has such a feeble body that I'm like, some of these people should be overpowering her. Why are they having such issues with this girl who looks like she's 2 shots away from a schoolgirl, wearing a school outfit, doing hentai porn, or whatever the hell, tentacles and shit. She doesn't look that buff or big or anything. So, like, the guys are having issues with her. And she does get beat up, to be fair. She does get beat up. She does get tossed around. She does get hurt, to be fair. But I'm like, not to toot my own horn, but I could take this girl with one hand. Boom, Did not toot my horn, toot, but... So she wasn't intimidating, she wasn't scary, I didn't sympathize with the character. And you don't really get a whole lot of the other characters to really build up upon. You don't really get to know her co-workers. Her boyfriend is just a married sleazebag. Because he's married to someone else, but yet cheating on his wife. Her father is sick. That's about as much you get out of it. Her mom dies fairly early on. The people, the victims, you don't even know anything about them until they become a victim. It's not like a build-up where, I don't know, maybe she goes by and she sees these people and she keeps going to this place because she wants to be in here, and she'll just visit the apartment and will grow this obsession, and then she'll even meet and talk with the people, and they seem nice, and that neighbor seems nice. But then when she loses her mind, even though these neighbors she thought were nice, she's going to kill them because she wants to get her own view, get what she wants. And I mean, really, this is just for if you want to see the kills. If you want to see some gory kills, this is the film for you. And I mean, it is a slasher film, but it's a 2010 slasher. So it's shot... I didn't really think it was shot with any amount of atmosphere. I don't know, with it... You either have the kind of more glossy, slick, sleek way that has your horror and humor, like a Scream, or even that new film Hard Eyes, which is fun to watch. Or you have that 80s kind of feel take on mentality that really, you know, gives you that atmosphere of a slasher. This one, like the cinematography, the look of it was just there. Not bad, not great, just there for me. Same with the direction, the shots of the film, the music. I can't even remember the music in the film, to be honest. It might be decent music, but I don't remember anything about it, to be fair. So I can see why I never heard of this film before. There's not really anyone to root for. There is no protagonist. Like, even in slasher films, you have like your Nev Campbell or your Heather Langenkamp or your Lisa Wilcox or hell Mark Patton in Elm Street 2, or it's Silent Madness, you have the lady who's like a female Dr. Loomis, or Halloween when you have actual Dr. Loomis, or here, like, there's really no one to root for because the victims you don't really know about until they become a victim. There's not really any, like, good guy who's kind of in parallel with the bad girl, in this case, the bad girl. So you have that wonderment, or are they going to face each other? Like, I think that, yeah, think of a multitude of slasher films. Halloween 4, Ellie Cornell, Danielle Harris. Friday the 13th Part 2, Amy Steele. Hard Eyes, the two people that fall in love and become a couple, which I grew to like those characters. Is that it's kind of a slasher film, I guess. The Collector, The Collection, which I enjoyed. Josh Stewart as Arkin. Love that character. My Bloody Valentine. You have the guy that comes back to the town, and you have a little, what do you call it? Love triangle. So there's not really a protagonist, and that's the thing. There's not really a protagonist in the film. I mean, I guess you could say maybe, like, to be fair, I liked American Psycho, and you could maybe argue that doesn't really have a one outright protagonist either. So I could give you that. Although there's, I think, what was it, Willem Dafoe? There's some other people there. Maybe, like, that film I could deal with because just Patrick Bateman was just a much more interesting character. And it felt like you really got more into his head, and it never felt like it was trying to make you sympathize with this guy. Here, it's like, oh, she got evicted when she was a kid. Oh, she got to take care of her father. Oh, her mom died. Oh, I don't give a fuck. You know what did that better? Falling Down with Michael Douglas. So there's parts that it makes it seem as if it wants to be falling down, but you ain't no falling down. Like, that film made it where I can almost root for D. Fins, for Michael Douglas. I'm the bad guy? When did that happen? Like, that's a much more interesting. I think that's a film that did that a lot better. A lot better. Here, not for me. If it's for you, I'm glad, cool. It just, But a lot of people like it because of the kills, because it's maybe it's trying to be a satire on the housing market, but again, it just, the satiric elements, they didn't do much for me. I really didn't feel as much of a satire, like, because satire usually means, oh, it's funny. I didn't really feel that in this. And honestly, I stole that because I looked up a couple reviews and they said that. I'm like, okay, if you say so, supposedly this has it. But I didn't see a whole lot of it like other people did. So I just, other than the fact that, oh, she really will do anything to get this view. So I just technically you say that part of it. But yeah, no sympathy, like no one to root for. Characters were not interesting. Didn't really care for the structure. But if you want to see some good gore, this does have that. So there's that at least. So take that for you will. With that said, thanks for watching. Take care, and we'll see you guys later. Bye-bye for now.